Imagine a world teetering on the brink. Geopolitical tensions are, well, they're red hot, superpowers locking horns, and in the shadows, there's this lone operative. He's tasked with stopping a global catastrophe. But what if the real enemy isn't who you think? And what if trying to save the world actually risks plunging it into even deeper chaos? Today, we're taking a deep dive into a title that really, it didn't just define a genre, it pushed boundaries in narrative and gameplay. Clancy's Splinter, Chaos Theory.
Yeah, 2005, co-developed by Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Milan. It definitely became a landmark quickly.
It really did. And our mission here with this deep dive is to unpack why. Why is this specific Splinter Cell game considered one of the greats? We want to look at how its themes still resonate.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've gathered some fascinating sources. The Wikipedia entry is incredibly detailed on the plot. Plus, we've got analyses on the mechanics, the reception, all that good stuff. So if you're looking for that shortcut, that way to understand how these complex stories, the cutting-edge design back then, and these very real-world anxieties all came together, well, this is for you. We'll pull out the key NVIDIAs, give you those aha moments, hopefully without just dumping information on you.
Yeah, cut through the noise a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this. I mean, a game from 2005, right? But it's ideas about global tension, information warfare. They feel almost prophetic, don't they? How did Chaos Theory manage that, to feel so ahead of its time?
It's really fascinating how the narrative just immediately raises the stakes. It moves beyond, your typical spy tropes.
Yeah.
It confronts these near-future geopolitical scenarios that, like you said, feel incredibly prescient even now. The genius, I think, is setting up this world where the smallest actions, or even inactions, could spark a global conflict.
Right, the butterfly effect, basically.
Pretty much. It forces you, the player, to grasp this delicate dance of international relations, where misinformation and technology can be just as destructive as any bomb or missile. The game wasn't just reflecting current events back then, it was sort of anticipating a future. A future where conflict lines are drawn not just on battlefields, but, well, in the digital realm.
And that's an insight that's only gotten more relevant.
Yeah, and more, yeah. Over time, absolutely.
That immediately builds tension, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Placing you right in the heart of that complex dance. So our story kicks off, the game tells us, June 2007. And the global stage is already set for disaster. Tensions are incredibly high. China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan. You can almost feel the air crackling. What specifically was the catalyst? What kicked off all this friction?
Well, the primary catalyst was Japan's controversial decision to form an information self-defense force, the ISDF.
ISDF.
And this wasn't just, a simple military upgrade. It was seen by Japan's neighbors, particularly China and North Korea, as a direct violation of its post-World War II constitution.
Right. Article 9, the pacifist clause.
Exactly. Article 9, which limits Japan's military to purely defensive capabilities. So by setting up a force specifically for information warfare, its neighbors quickly saw it as an offensive capability. They immediately started blaming the ISDF for a series of InfoWar attacks against their own countries. So it's not just a perceived threat, it's an active accusation.
Which escalates things quickly, I imagine.
Dramatically. China and North Korea respond by setting up a naval blockade in the Yellow Sea against Japanese shipping. So the conflict isn't just kinetic, it's rooted in this unseen battleground of information. Data, algorithms, they become the new weapons in this digital arms race. It creates this really palpable tension right from the start.
So we've got this geopolitical chessboard, pieces already moving, the air thick with suspicion. With that thermometer already climbing, how does the U.S. get involved? As Japan's ally, what do? And what happens next?
Well, as Japan's ally, the U.S. does what superpowers often do. They dispatch an advanced warship. The USS Clarence E. Walsh, it's a guided missile cruiser, CG-80, into the Yellow Sea.
A show of force.
Exactly. Classic gunboat diplomacy. Trying to intimidate or persuade China and North Korea to back down from the blockade, without necessarily firing a shot. But it's layered with the complexity of those ongoing information warfare accusations. So this one warship, it becomes this powerful symbol. It's a fragile point of potential conflict that could easily tip the balance.
Intended to stabilize, but could actually ignite things.
Precisely. The insight there is that while it's meant to project stability, that kind of display inherently carries the risk of, accidental escalation, or even intentional provocation disguised as an accident. It just immediately raises the stakes for everyone.
It's a powder keg. And stepping right into that powder keg is Sam Fisher. His initial mission It sounds straightforward enough on paper, but it unravels fast into something, well, much more sinister. So where does Sam's journey actually begin in the game? And what are these math kernels he's after?
Sam's first deployed to a lighthouse, actually, off the coast of Talara, Peru. His mission: locate Bruce Morgenholt, an American computer programmer. Now, Morgenholt was working on deciphering these enigmatic mass kernels, and to understand why they matter, you need to know they're highly advanced, weaponized algorithms.
Weaponized algorithms
Yeah.
developed by...
Developed by Philip Mass, a dangerous figure who Fisher himself had actually assassinated back in 2005 in a previous game's storyline. So the kernels, they represent this legacy of extreme digital danger.
Okay, so they're seriously bad news.
Oh yeah. Fisher's critical task is just to stop these things from falling into the wrong hands. Think of them as the ultimate digital weapon capable of disrupting critical infrastructure, not just physically, but electronically, on a global scale. The term itself, mass kernels, it creates this immediate curiosity, right? Like a whisper of unprecedented cyber warfare. And the fact that their creator was so dangerous Fisher had to eliminate him, that just underlines the threat.
So Sam's on this critical mission, stop these digital superweapons from getting out. But as often happens in these stories, things don't go according to plan. What happens when Fisher gets to Peru? And how do these kernels immediately impact the global situation?
Yeah, unfortunately, Fisher arrives too late. Morgenholt is found dead. And the mass kernels, they're released.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's not a slow burn, it's immediate catastrophic impact.
Yeah.
Unknown parties use them to instantaneously black out Japan and the entire eastern seaboard of the United States.
Whoa, okay, that's huge.
It is, and it immediately raises the question, who benefits from this kind of immediate, widespread chaos? Right away, Admiral Toshiro Otomo of Japan's ISDF points the finger. He warns Third Echelon, that's Fisher's agency, that North Korea and China are likely responsible.
Directing blame, escalating things further.
Exactly. These blackouts, they aren't just an inconvenience. They're a chilling demonstration of power, a direct shot fired in this new kind of war. And it intentionally blurs the lines of responsibility, creates maximum confusion, and really sets the stage for a much larger conflict.
That blame game is just... It's critical here, isn't it? With the world already reeling from these blackouts, fingers pointing everywhere, Fisher follows a lead, takes him to New York City. What does he find there, and how does it make things personal for him?
Following a lead they picked up from Panama, Fisher goes to New York. He's investigating Ibrahim Zerkezi, another programmer who worked with Morgenholt on the kernels. And this is where the layers of deception really start to peel back. He finds Zerkezi is being protected by Displace International.
Displace International. Okay, who are they?
They're a U.S.-based private military corporation, PMC. But here's the bombshell. The company is owned by none other than Fisher's old friend, Douglas Shetland.
Shetland. His friend.
His friend, yeah. So introducing a friend as a potential antagonist, it just adds this deeply personal layer to the global stakes. It transforms the narrative. It's not just anonymous state actors anymore. It's corporate warfare tangled up with state-level conflict.
That's wow.
And for a game from 2005, the idea of PMCs playing such a pivotal role in global events, it's really insightful. It shows how power can operate outside traditional government structures. Feels very relevant today.
No kidding. That's where the tension really ratchets up, doesn't it? A trusted friend, potentially at the heart of this global conspiracy. So Fisher infiltrates Displace. He eventually tracks Shetland and Zerkezi to Hokkaido in Japan. What happens there? What finally shatters Fisher's trust?
Well, in Hokkaido, Fisher actually meets with Shetland first. And Shetland claims that Milan Nedic, a Bosnian Serb arms supplier Fisher's also been tracking, is clean. He tries to throw Fisher off the scent.
But Fisher doesn't buy it.
Nope. Fisher infiltrates Nedic's hideout anyway, takes him out, and then witnesses this chilling moment. Shetland himself murders Zerkezi right in front of Fisher.
Murders the programmer.
Murders the programmer. Then Shetland escapes, goes underground. The emotional weight of that moment is huge. A trusted friend is undeniably revealed as a killer, directly linked to the very algorithms causing these global blackouts.
It's not just a mission anymore.
Exactly. It becomes this profound personal betrayal woven into this global conspiracy. It deepens the stakes massively and makes Fisher's pursuit not just professional, but deeply personal. Creates this real sense of urgency, this moral ambiguity for the player too.
The betrayal by Shetland it's a shocker. But the geopolitical situation is just spiraling out of control at the same time. How do those two threads, the personal and the global, converge? What's the next big escalation?
Yeah, the situation gets dire. fast. That U.S. show of force in the Yellow Sea, it backfires spectacularly. The USS Clancy Walsh is struck and sunk by a North Korean anti-ship missile, July 4th, 2007 in the game's timeline.
Sunk by North Korea.
That's the report. North Korea, of course, claims it was unintentional, an accident. But the incident immediately brings the U.S., North Korea, and South Korea to the absolute brink of war.
This is it, the flashpoint.
This is the critical turning point. Regional tensions just explode into open warfare directly involving the U.S., that unintentional missile launch. It's the perfect piece of misdirection, obscuring the true orchestrators and providing the pretext.
I'm in.
And then North Korea launches a full-scale invasion of South Korea.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The insight there is just how fragile international peace really is, how easily a seemingly isolated incident can ignite this wider, devastating conflict. It's the chaos theory principle right there in action.
Imagine the headlines. Warship sunk, invasion launched. The stakes just couldn't be higher. But Sam Fisher, he soon uncovers the real truth behind this engineered chaos, right? What does he learn in Seoul? And what is Shetland's motive for starting a world war?
In Seoul, Fisher uncovers the devastating truth. Displace International, led by Shetland, orchestrated the entire war.
Shetland did it.
He used the mass kernels, hijacked North Korea's missile systems, sunk the Clarence E. Walsh himself, essentially, to purposefully draw the U.S. into the conflict.
That's insane. Why? What's his motive?
His motive is profoundly disturbing. Almost nihilistic. He tells Fisher he wants to tear it all down and start over. He believes politicians and bureaucrats are letting the country die.
Wow. So it's not a nation-state miscalculation?
No, it's deliberate sabotage. Manipulation by a non-state actor, a PMC head with this radical, destructive agenda. It's a powerful narrative about how trust or the lack of it between nations can be weaponized, how easily a disillusioned desire for radical change can just morph into destructive global chaos, makes you question who really holds the power, who's pulling the strings.
What a ride. I mean, from a rescue mission in Peru to preventing World War III, all tied together by rogue tech and a disillusioned former friend, the scale of the deception, the personal stakes for Fisher, it's incredible.
It really is.
So the climax of this whole thing unfolds in Tokyo. Who are Shetland's final accomplices? And how does Fisher finally confront his former friend?
The climax is. It's another layer of betrayal, really. Third Echelon sends Fisher to a bathhouse in Tokyo. He's there to spy on a meeting between Shetland and his final accomplices.
And who are they?
Turns out, it's the ISDF, the very Japanese force whose formation kicked off all the tension in the first place.
No way. They were in on it.
Well, yes. But then, in a shocking twist, the ISDF turns on Shetland during the meeting. Leads to this massive firefight in the bathhouse.
Chaos.
Total chaos. Fisher pursues Shetland through it all up to the roof. And there, they have this tense standoff. It really pits their history, their friendship, against Fisher's loyalty, his duty.
Why Fisher?
Fisher is forced to kill Shetland at personal sacrifice. It's a really powerful narrative beat. Highlights the brutal choices involved in espionage. The insight, I think, is that in the world of chaos theory, loyalty is just fleeting. Even among the bad guys, betrayal is always a looming threat.
So Shetland's gone. But the threat isn't over yet, is it? The mass kernels are still out there. Admiral Otomo of the ISDF. He makes one last desperate move. What's his plan? And how does Sam finally stop World War III?
Right. With Shetland dead, Admiral Otomo gets his hands on a copy of the Kernels. And he attempts this shocking power grab. He tries to restore Japan to imperial rule by blackmailing Japanese officials.
How? What's the threat?
His threat is terrifyingly real. He plans to use the algorithms to launch a North Korean nuclear missile against a Japanese city.
Oh my God. That would do it. An undeniable act of war. It would force China to back North Korea, the U.S. to back Japan, almost certainly sparking World War III.
So Fisher has to stop him.
Race against time. Fisher infiltrates the ISDF headquarters, stops Otomo's launch sequence, and then in this surprising moment of duty over revenge, he actually saves Otomo's life before capturing him.
Saves him. After all that. Saves him. Otomo is then put on trial at the UN, takes full responsibility, and finally, stability is restored. But the ultimate insight remains. This whole global crisis stemmed from this chain of seemingly isolated events, all connected by the insidious power of weaponized information. How individual ambition can easily leverage that tech to push the world right to the brink.
What an incredible journey. Just the narrative complexity is astounding for a game of that era.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't just the story that matured, right? The gameplay itself,
Yeah.
but the mechanics saw a massive overhaul. It made stealth feel more intricate, more tense than ever. Chaos Theory had a significantly darker tone than the earlier games, too.
Yeah.
How did that show up in Fisher's actions? And what was the lasting impact of that shift?
Yeah, that shift to a darker tone is immediate and impactful. You see more combat overall, and crucially, Fisher now has the explicit option to kill people he interrogates instead of just knocking them out or, execute close-range attacks lethally.
Which was new for the series.
Very new. And it was a significant evolution. It led Chaos Theory to be the first Splinter Cell game to get an M rating from the ESRB. And that rating has stuck with the series ever since.
So that M rating wasn't just for show.
No, it signaled a real departure. It allowed for more intense themes, sure, but also more direct player agency in those moral decisions. The key insight, I think, is that it wasn't just about upping the gore or realism. It forced players to genuinely internalize the moral compromises that are inherent in espionage. Made you ask yourself, is saving the world worth the cost to your own humanity? That's the real shift in engagement that M rating unlocked.
That player agency in moral choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. And to get that heightened tension, that deeper immersion, Chaos Theory refined its stealth mechanics dramatically.
Yeah.
What were the standout innovations? Especially how you interacted with the environment.
Oh, one of the most brilliant innovations, I think, was the oral monitor. It complemented the standard light bar, the one showing how visible you were.
Right, the visibility meter.
Yeah. The oral monitor measured Sam's noise, his footsteps, his actions, and the ambient noise of the environment. Rain, machinery, chatter, whatever.
Okay, so sound became just as important as light.
Exactly. The critical part was Sam had to make less noise than his surroundings to stay undetected. This dual sensory input, light and sound, it just elevated the strategic depth of stealth dramatically. You weren't just watching shadows anymore, you were actively listening. Listening to your own footsteps, the rain outside, that distant guard's conversation, and using it all to your advantage.
Like using noise cover.
Precisely. Imagine a dark, rainy alley. The downpour, that's your ally, masking your movement. But then, silence falls. And suddenly, every single step is a huge risk. The genius here is that the environment itself becomes this dynamic character in the stealth equation. It forces you to think critically about every move, every sound, creates this constant, subtle tension that was just groundbreaking for player immersion back then.
That is a game changer, making the environment work with or against you like that. And it wasn't just you, the player, who got smarter. The AI, the artificial intelligence in Chaos Theory, got a massive overhaul, made the enemies way less predictable, much more formidable. How did the enhanced AI actively try to outwit you? How did it raise the stakes?
Oh, the AI overhaul was huge, a massive leap. It really pushed players away from just recognizing patterns towards, genuine tactical thinking.
How so? What did they do differently?
Well, for example, guards would dynamically move furniture to create cover for themselves. They'd actively detect changes in the environment, like if you hacked a scanner, or shot out a light, or left a door open, or even cut through material like a tent wall.
So leaving any trace was way riskier.
Much riskier. And beyond just interacting with the environment, they used sophisticated team tactics. They'd lay down covering fire, they'd flank you. Incredibly, they'd even light flares in dark areas to try and flush you out.
Flares? What?
Yeah. And get this, they could even spot Sam's reflection in a mirror.
No way.
Yeah.
That level of detail is amazing.
It really was. They also introduced dynamic alarm levels. So the higher the alarm state, the tougher the response. Guards would don heavier armor, they'd create choke points, set up ambushes. The insight is that this AI transforms stealth from just being a puzzle into this dynamic, unpredictable chess match. It constantly tests your ability to outmaneuver an opponent that feels intelligent and adaptive. It genuinely raises the stakes for every single move you make.
So yeah, no more easy wins. The AI isn't just smarter, it's actively trying to outthink you. Like a high-stakes chess match. That's a great way to put it. There were also some key changes, subtle ones maybe, to how body discovery and alarms worked. Can you elaborate on those?
Absolutely. Those were subtle but significant shifts. Unlike the earlier games where finding a body, unconscious or dead, in a well-lit spot would automatically trigger a full alarm.
Right, which could feel a bit arbitrary sometimes.
Exactly. In Chaos Theory, bodies had to be actually discovered by a patrolling guard or seen by a security camera to trigger that alarm.
So more logical, more predictable in a good way.
Right. You still had to be careful with body placement, obviously, but the rules felt more consistent, less like the game was just punishing you. It allowed for a better strategic planning. And importantly, triggering alarms didn't automatically mean game over. It had concrete consequences, though. Enemies would become more alert, more combat ready, like you mentioned, maybe donning ballistic vests or helmets.
Making things harder but not impossible.
Precisely. And also, killing civilians or friendly soldiers, it didn't necessarily fail the mission outright, but it came with penalties. You'd get severely chastised by Lambert over the radio, you'd take a big hit to your mission score, and sometimes specific objectives would be canceled. The insight here is that these changes provide clear, consistent feedback on your choices. It fosters this deeper sense of strategic consequence rather than just arbitrary failure states, which, really enhances replayability and encourages a more thoughtful, maybe even ethical engagement with the game's world.
That's a crucial distinction, yeah. Consequences, not just game over screens. And Chaos Theory gave Sam Fisher this incredible toolkit, right, for both lethal and non-lethal approaches. But the real genius, like you said, was how those tools interacted with the environment and that new, smarter AI. What was added to Sam's arsenal that really changed how players approach things?
A really standout addition was the combat knife. It became part of Sam's standard close-quarters combat abilities.
Not just for stabbing, though.
Oh, no, definitely not. The knife wasn't just a simple weapon, it was this versatile multi-tool. It profoundly enhanced both lethal and non-lethal stealth options. It really fostered incredible player creativity.
How so? What could you do with it?
Well, you could use it to threaten enemies during interrogations, get more intel maybe. You could, of course, use it for lethal takedowns, but you could also use it to break open locked doors, like a quieter, faster alternative to lockpicking in some cases, or even pierce generator gas tanks.
To cut the power, create darkness.
Exactly. Create those stealth opportunities. Melee combat itself evolved too. It no longer really mattered what direction Sam attacked from, or even if the enemy was aware of him, if you got close enough, you could take them down in one swift move. And critically, players always had the choice. How to end an interrogation, how to apply those close-range attacks, lethally or non-lethally.
More agency?
Tons more agency, and environmental takedowns. They expanded significantly from previous games. Sam could, choke someone out or break their neck while hanging upside down from a pipe. He could pull enemies over railings, even throw bodies off cliffs onto other guards below.
Wow, okay. That's pretty dynamic.
Very dynamic. And while they actually removed the ability to shoot around corners from Pandora Tomorrow, they balanced it by letting you switch which shoulder Sam aimed his weapon from. A subtle change, but really impactful for using cover effectively. The core insight is that the knife and all these refined abilities gave players this unprecedented sense of control and responsiveness within a dynamic world. It constantly sparked curiosity about the tactical possibilities in every single room, every encounter.
That tactical depth definitely extended to Sam's full loadout, didn't it? Allowing players to tailor Fisher to their own style. What options did Chaos Theory give you for customizing equipment before a mission? And what were some of the key gadgets that really stood out?
Yeah, before each mission, you got to choose from 3 equipment kits. There was Redding's recommendation, that was usually a balanced mix of ammo and non-lethal gear, kind of the default.
Okay.
Then you had Assault, which gave you more lethal ammo, but fewer non-lethal options. And finally, Stealth, which was the opposite, more non-lethal gadgets, less lethal ammo.
And Assault wasn't always available.
Right. Crucially, the Assault kit was locked out for missions that had a strict no fatalities requirement, which really forced you to adapt your strategy and rely on those non-lethal tools. This loadout choice, it added this nice strategic layer before the mission even started. Enhanced replayability, encouraged critical thinking about the challenges ahead.
Makes sense. What about the iconic gadgets, like the pistol and the rifle?
Well, the iconic 5.7 SC pistol returned, but with a major new feature. Its laser pointer was replaced with the OCP, the optically channeled potentiator.
OCP. What did that do?
The OCP was brilliant. It wasn't just another gadget. It was this silent, almost ghostly way to sculpt the environment to your advantage. Imagine a guard patrolling under a bright light. Instead of shooting out the light, which makes noise and leaves debris, you could zap it with the OCP. It would temporarily disable the light, plunging the area into darkness. You slip past, leave no choice, and the light comes back on a few seconds later, completely baffling any guards who might notice.
That's genius. What else could it affect?
Lights, security cameras, even computer towers. Basically, temporarily disabling electronics. It had a little indicator light showing if a target was OCP vulnerable and a recharge time so you couldn't spam it. Then you had the SC-20K assault rifle, the main weapon. It came back with a bunch of new attachments you could swap between. A foregrip for better accuracy and less recoil. The launcher, of course, for firing all the non-lethal ammo. An underbarrel shotgun for close encounters. And even a prototype 20mm sniper attachment with adjustable zoom give you a lot of flexibility.
Those are some serious upgrades.
Mhm.
But the non-lethal options, they always felt like the heart of Splinter Cell stealth, you know. What were some of the most innovative non-lethal tools Sam had in Chaos Theory?
Oh, the non-lethal launcher weaponry was particularly inventive, yeah. The sticky camera, for instance. You could shoot it onto a wall, use it to scout ahead.
Right, standard stuff.
But it did more. You could make it emit a little clicking sound to attract guards, lure them into position, and you could trigger it to release CS gas, knocking out anyone nearby.
A camera that's also a lure and a gas grenade.
Exactly. But here's the real game changer. Sam could deploy multiple sticky cameras simultaneously and switch between their views. This completely revolutionized information gathering and tactical planning. You could set up eyes in 3 different spots, coordinate distractions, maybe set up a gas trap.
Wow, okay. That's a huge leap. What else?
Then there was the sticky shocker. Simple concept. Shoots an electrode that incapacitates a single target. But if you shot it into a pool of water,
Ooh, it electrifies the water.
yep, incapacitates everyone standing in it. A brilliant use of environmental interaction for non-lethal takedowns.
Very clever.
And finally, the airfoil round. It was this hollow metal ring projectile, hit someone with it, knocked them out clean. Although the game did warn you, unconscious enemies could still die from falling off ledges, drowning if they fell in water, or even if they got shot accidentally later, still reinforcing those consequences, those moral choices.
Right, non-lethal doesn't always mean harmless.
Exactly. And rounding out the arsenal were the standard grenades, gas, smoke, flashbang, fragmentation, plus the returning wall mine, that sticky motion sensor explosive. The cumulative insight from all this, the sheer breadth of tactical options, especially things like the OCP and that multi-camera system, gave players true agency, real control over how they approached complex situations, constantly building curiosity, constantly raising the stakes for every choice you made.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Beyond the incredible single-player campaign, Chaos Theory also had a really expansive multiplayer dimension. First, let's talk about the cooperative campaign. This wasn't just a tacked-on mode, was it? It had its own actual story. Tell us about that.
That's absolutely right. It was a unique 7-mission cooperative story mode, and it ran completely parallel to the main single-player campaign.
So, happening at the same time.
Yeah, integrated into the larger lore. It wasn't just an afterthought, it felt like a truly meaningful addition. It followed 2 new Splinter Cells, rookies basically, known only as Agent 1 and Agent 2. They're still in training when their training gets dramatically interrupted by the very world crisis that's unfolding in the main campaign. The blackouts, the tensions escalating. ShadowNet is forced to deploy even these inadequately trained agents into the field.
Trial by fire, literally.
Exactly. That trial by fire scenario immediately raises the stakes for these characters, adds this layer of vulnerability, of grit to their missions. And while you could technically play it alone, the level design actively encouraged teamwork. There were puzzles, obstacles, situations that required synchronized actions, 2-man lifts, covering each other. It made it a genuine co-op experience.
Really built for 2 players.
Definitely. And Ubisoft even released 2 additional downloadable levels later on Nuclear Plant and UN headquarters, which concluded the cooperative story arc. The insight here is just how brilliantly the game expanded its narrative universe, offering this fresh perspective on the Chaos Theory events, seeing it through the eyes of agents who are new to this whole messy business. It fostered curiosity about their journey and actually gave you a deeper appreciation for the context of the main campaign, too.
So, a separate, full-fledged story just for co-op. That's an incredible commitment, really extending the narrative and the gameplay. But Chaos Theory also refined its competitive multiplayer, right? The iconic spy versus mercenary mode. How did that mode create such unique asymmetrical tension?
Oh yeah, Spy vs. Mercenaries, Spies vs. Mercs returned from Pandora tomorrow, but it was significantly improved. New gadgets for both sides, cooperative moves for the spies. This mode, it just brilliantly translates the core themes of the single-player game, stealth, detection, light, and shadow, into a competitive format, and it creates this inherently tense, asymmetrical experience.
Asymmetrical? How so?
Well, the power balance isn't even, and that's intentional. It's not a flaw, it's a defining feature. It generates this incredible amount of tension for both sides. The spies, they're armed mostly with non-lethal weapons. They rely on stealth, cunning, agility, gadgets. They can only actually kill the mercenaries through specific close-quarters maneuvers, breaking their necks from behind, dropping on them from above, pulling them down off a ledge. Their gadgets mostly affect the environment or the mercs, not other spies.
So finesse over firepower for the spies.
Exactly. While the mercenaries, they're the opposite. Heavily armed, first-person perspective, lethal weaponry, flashlights, motion trackers. They represent the brute force opposition to the spy's finesse.
Gotcha. Cat and mouse.
A very high-stakes cat and mouse game. They added new game modes, too, like Disc Hunt, where spies had to grab data discs from terminals and get them to an extraction point while mercs defended, and a more straightforward deathmatch mode. The deep insight here is how the asymmetry forces completely different playstyles. As a spy, every shadow is potential cover and advantage. As a merc, every corner could hide danger, every light source is crucial for fleshing out enemies. It demands quick thinking, environmental awareness, constant adaptation. Offered just endless replayability because you had to completely rethink your strategies depending on which side you were on.
That's a true testament to its design, yeah. Making competitive multiplayer feel just as strategically deep as the single player. Okay, let's pull back the curtain a bit. Look at the craft behind Chaos Theory. A game of this scale, this ambition, it doesn't just happen. What kind of investment did Ubisoft make? And what were some of the cutting-edge technical elements it brought to the table back in '05?
The investment was, well, it was substantial for the time. The game had a development budget reported around $10 million and then another $10 million for marketing. And at its peak, they had around 300 people working on it.
Wow, 300 people. That's a big team.
It was a major commitment from Ubisoft, really highlights their drive back then to push technical and creative boundaries. And you can see it paid off in the game's quality and reception. That budget allowed for graphics that were truly cutting edge for 2005. They made innovative use of things like normal mapping, which adds fine surface detail without using tons of polygons, HDR high dynamic range lighting, which created much more realistic contrast between light and dark areas, and parallax mapping, another technique to give surfaces more apparent depth, all contributed to these incredibly lifelike visuals and immersive environments for the time.
You could really see the difference.
Oh yeah. The insight is that this kind of considerable financial and human investment, it allowed for a level of polish and technical sophistication that was genuinely groundbreaking, showed a real commitment to pushing the limits of what games could achieve, both graphically and interactively.
A $20 million total investment back then. Yeah, that was huge. And you can definitely see it in the final products. But that ambition, depicting these intense geopolitical scenarios, it also came with risks, right? Even political sensitivities. What was the impact of the game's themes in South Korea specifically?
Yeah, that depiction of a war between North and South Korea, that was understandably highly sensitive in South Korea itself. As a result, Chaos Theory was actually banned there initially. It wasn't released until 2007.
Banned, wow.
Banned. And it really raises that important question, doesn't it? How do creators balance their artistic vision, their narrative ambition, with potential political sensitivities? With the real-world impact of the stories they tell? The ban in South Korea starkly underscores the significance of depicting such a charged scenario, shows how deeply games can resonate beyond just being pure entertainment.
And the fact it was eventually released.
Yeah, the eventual lifting of the ban in 2007. Maybe it speaks to evolving perceptions over time. Or perhaps an eventual understanding of the game's broader message, which wasn't really taking sides, but exploring the dangers of escalating conflict and manipulation itself. It's just a powerful reminder of that complex relationship between art, politics, and international relations.
Absolutely. Now, another huge part of the game's atmosphere was its soundtrack. It was unforgettable. Not just background noise, like you said earlier, it felt like a character itself. Really enhanced the tension, the mood. Who was behind that distinctive sound? And what made it so unique?
The soundtrack was primarily the work of the Brazilian electronic music artist Eamon Tobin, though the seminal game composer Jesper Kyd did score the game's cinematics.
Eamon Tobin. Okay, his style is very distinctive.
Incredibly distinctive, and Ubisoft knew they had something special. Tobin's album Chaos Theory, the soundtrack to Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, was actually released in January 2005. That was months before the game itself came out.
Release the soundtrack first. That's confident.
Speaks volumes, right? Tobin's style just perfectly complemented the game's dark, tense, tech noir atmosphere. It became an iconic part of the whole experience. And his approach to the in-game music was really interesting too. It involved layering different musical sequences, different intensities, different rhythms that would respond dynamically to what the player was doing. Are you sneaking? Are you detected? Are you in open combat? The music would shift and adapt.
Making it feel alive.
Exactly. And this album also marked a significant shift for Tobin personally. He moved away from primarily using found samples towards recording his own sounds. He even hired a live band for parts of it, including Mexican composer Nacho Mendez and Japanese flutist Eiji Miyake. added this organic layer to the electronics. The key insight is that integrating such a high-caliber, uniquely atmospheric soundtrack wasn't just about accompaniment. It was a critical component of the tension, the immersion. Demonstrates how powerful sound design can be in actively contributing to the narrative, the gameplay experience, creating this deeper sense of dread, of curiosity, of being in that world.
And all that excellence, the story, the gameplay, the tech, the sound, it all translated directly into widespread critical acclaim, right? And commercial success. What was the reception like from critics? How did Chaos Theory really cement its legacy?
Oh, the reception was phenomenal. Chaos Theory received universal acclaim, especially for the primary Xbox and PC versions. They got Metacritic scores of 94 out of 100 and 92 out of 100, respectively. Just huge scores.
Universal acclaim, wow.
Yeah. Now, the PlayStation 2, GameCube, even the N-Gage versions got favorable reviews, still good. The later 3DS and DS ports were more mixed. That disparity across platforms mostly just highlights the technical ambition, how well it could translate to different hardware. But the overwhelming praise for those main versions really cemented its status as a masterpiece.
Any specific call-outs from reviews back then?
Oh yeah. Official Xbox Magazine named it their Game of the Year for 2005, and they gave it their highest ever review score at that point, a 9.9 out of 10. They cited the strong gameplay and lifelike graphics. IGN called it a peak for the entire Splinter Cell series. You saw quotes like, an almost perfect mix of story and engrossing gameplay that still requires more use of brain over brawn. That was from Team Xbox. And Edge magazine, always quite discerning, called it the game that the original Splinter Cell was meant to deliver, a tight play experience within a trusty framework. High praise all around.
Those are absolutely glowing endorsements. How did that critical success translate commercially? Did it sell well, pick up awards?
Commercially, it was a massive success. It sold 2.5 million units across all platforms within just a month of its release, which was huge back then.
2.5 million in a month.
Yeah. And the Splinter Cell series as a whole had already sold 10 million copies by March 2005, so Chaos Theory was a significant contributor to that franchise success. Awards-wise, it racked them up too. Even before release, at E3 2004, it won Game Critics Awards for Best PC Game, Best Action-Adventure Game, and got a special commendation for graphics. It also got an IGN Editor's Choice Award, the consistent praise from critics, the strong sales. It wasn't just about the tech, it reflected how effectively Chaos Theory elevated the entire stealth genre. It managed to be both incredibly challenging and deeply rewarding. Appealed to hardcore stealth fans, but also brought new players in. The ultimate insight, really, is that Chaos Theory proved that intelligent design, married to a compelling, prescient narrative and truly immersive world building, could create an experience that genuinely resonated and stood the test of time. It wasn't just a great game for 2005, it remains a masterclass in interactive storytelling and emergent gameplay even today.
So, wrapping this all up.
Yeah.
What does it all mean? We've seen how Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, just skillfully wove together this high-stakes geopolitical thriller with truly groundbreaking stealth mechanics, intelligent AI.
Yeah, a remarkable package.
It forced players to make tough moral choices. It provided this immersive, tense experience that really pushed the boundaries of its genre. From that innovative oral monitor listening to the world to the adaptive enemy AI that really hunted you, and that deep, personal story of betrayal wrapped up in a global conspiracy. Chaos Theory absolutely delivered on its promise of a truly evolved stealth experience.
It really did set a new benchmark.
And the title itself, Chaos Theory. It isn't just a cool phrase, is it? It perfectly encapsulates the whole narrative. Where these seemingly small actions, this butterfly effect, can unravel global stability. It's about how the world can spiral into chaos when information itself is weaponized, when trust is broken, how personal vendettas can literally trigger global catastrophes.
Very fitting title.
So consider this as we finish. Just how chillingly relevant are the game's core themes today? Information warfare, state-sponsored deception, rogue actors operating outside traditional power structures. Decades after its release, it still feels current.
Disturbingly so sometimes.
What does it say about our enduring struggle for control in this increasingly interconnected world, where the lines between order and chaos, friend and foe, are just constantly shifting? How often do we really know who's pulling the strings? What are those subtle, unseen forces shaping our reality?
Heavy questions, but important ones the game makes you think about.
Exactly. We really hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective on this seminal title, on its lasting impact. It's a reminder, isn't it, that truly great entertainment can do more than just thrill us. It can prompt us to critically examine the complex, often shadow-laden world we actually live in.